Okay, now that we have gotten the summer blockbusters out the way of Superman, Fantastic Four, question is for each one. We're going to do separate videos, but who cares? Which one was the better one? Is Marvel back? Is DC on the right track? Another thing that might pop into my head. Let's go with the first thing of my agenda. I think Superman is the better movie out of the two. Now, if you told me, I was like, but it's not by much. It's not like I'll be over here. I don't ever do like point ranking, but it's never something where I'm just like, oh man, they're so far behind. I will put them in almost the same tier, but of course, Superman is on top of the pyramid or whatever. I think that it gave it was like it gave more excitement, even though I feel like the stakes were higher for this to me than Fantastic Four. I know that's weird to say, but I was like, Marvel is still there. Marvel still got their stuff going to where DC is trying to get their. I was like, I mean, Marvel got stuff that they already got lined up, and a finish line where it's like DC is just starting the race. So I was like, to me, I was like, I think Superman had a little bit higher expectations. But I will say that what has struck me is that they're really kind of the same movie at the same time. They both aren't crazy, like the jokes aren't like overt. They're not too much in your face. They're they work the comic books of it. I was like the corniness, if it does have it, it works. It's nothing that just really takes you out. Um, I was like, they both of their villains are very solid. You get it. It's nothing that just seems like, oh man, it's just too wacky or anything like that. I was like, I think that their plot of how do they overcome this, I think that is about the same. Of like, oh, okay, cool. Their stuff made sense. It wasn't like the science of it or anything like that wasn't too like, oh, they're just spitting jargon at me or nothing like that. I was like, they're where you want to say the family dynamic in Fantastic Four versus family dynamic in Superman, but it's more the humanity of it all. I was like, I think they both fit there. Them, of course, all four of them, but also I'm not sacrificing the baby. Superman, who is like, they showed his parents, and when at the end his real parents. I was like, him and his woman. I was like, him and his girlfriend. They had their battle, just like how Sue and Reed had their stuff, which is sort of like, oh, that's a normal thing that happens, or whatever. So I was like, to me, they're really very on the same thing. I just think that Superman had way more action in it, which I feel like it should also kind of like not only they got more superheroes in that universe, but I was like they had a little bit more conflict going about it because to be honest, Fantastic Four really had their world ready to go and chill and there were no problems really there. Even the other problems were minor. Whereas on Superman, I was like, nah, you got the stuff with Lex Luthor. You still got the stuff that's over here with the countries. I was like, so I was like, well, we come to find out more external threats. Yeah, so I was like, to me, I think it just had a little more action, had a little bit more fight, had a little bit more in it that gave it, to me, that extra bump over the Fantastic Four. But really good movies for what they both needed to do. And I was like, they both needed to basically restore faith in people with the thing. Now, I will say the difference between the two is that DC restoring the faith is not the same thing with Marvel restoring the faith because there's nothing I think that I don't think we're ever going to get the feeling that we had from Marvel. But so Marvel just had to basically put out a competent movie that made it just seem like cool. Y'all got y'all stuff together. Whereas DC Faith was just basically saying, "Hey, y'all didn't poop the bed," and they both did that. Um, Now I was like, I will go with we'll start on the DC side of it first. DC on the right track. I think that while I was like, I think it's hard to say. Kind of like Gunn is not, while he'll have a hand in everything, he's not going to actually fully direct and do all these movies. He will let other people do them. But we can see that the vision of them, because the thing is that the stuff that Gunn does, we can all see in this movie, but it's not also something I feel like takes away from any of the movie. I was like, whereas like the crypto of it all does, I was like, I didn't think it took away from it, even though I was like, even though I don't, I'm like, it could have had less him, but that's just me. Um, and stuff. I was like, we seen like with him and some and his other work too, because I think that's also what you got to throw in here as well too. That's like he's willing to do jokes, but he's not going to necessarily do jokes that will necessarily take over what his overall mission of the movie and the theme is going to be. So that's why I think with other movies and stuff like that, like whether you will like the movie is a different thing than whether the movie didn't have a premise behind it that they stuck to. You know what I'm saying? I was like, you might not like how he may do, say, the Batman or Supergirl or something like that, but can you see the vision of what he tried to do and then he execute that? Because I think you can execute that and then be like, I didn't like the movie, but I seen what they were doing and that worked. You know what I'm saying? Because we all got different tastes, we got different flavors. Um, and also too, I think that him saying like, the world been this way with gods and monsters. We've all known about superpower people and all this other stuff. I think that already setting it up that way, I think gives him actually more room, and also seeing how they've already dealt with. Now we're gonna like they dealt with Superman. They got Superman. Cool. Everybody behind Superman. The Justice League got built up a better reputation after this as well. That I think like yes, will there be some problem that come across? Yes, of course, superheroes. But I do think that after this, like whoever comes through or who comes apart, it's just gonna be like, oh, that's cool. It's not gonna be like, where I think differently than like Marvel had to introduce them and stuff like that. And it's like, oh, how do we figure this out? They're already in the process of just either figuring it out in general or just being cool with it. Because it's like, look, after you get Superman to basically be everybody's guy, they be like, boo, hate him, and they're bringing him back. Guess what? Anybody else? He walked he flew so that everybody can walk. Yeah. So that's why I was like, whenever they bring in all these other people and stuff like that, I think it's fine. But like I said, I was like, we can see what James Gunn's direction is. We already know we already know some of his stuff that he's going to do. I think it's going to be weird of seeing some stuff like how he got a Clayface movie, and I was like, okay, but I'm willing. But now I'm like, but I was like, seeing how he done Suicide Squad to this, it's like, and like how he had brought some character like Mr. Terrific, how he did him really well. He do side characters really strong. Then I was like, because I feel like for the most part, I was like, I know you got to stick to main character, but I feel like to me, you just don't have to mess them up. Whereas the side characters, you got to nail them so that when they come back in, when it's like you could now, I was like, now you done created people who are like B, C level ones, and it's like they will never be A's, but people will get them on screen like, oh man, Mr. Terrific's here, or something like that. Like, oh snap, he do some stuff with Hot Girl, be like, oh Hot, instead of be like, oh Hot Girl's here, yeah, she was in the movie, yeah, she cool, yeah. That's what you don't want when you're gonna have a bunch of these characters here. So I think, yes, they still got their work cut out for him with the next couple movies. But you hit it big with a big movie with Superman in a way where everybody's like, hey, guess what? Superman's back. Superman's here. Because guess what? When it comes to time for Halloween, them costumes gonna be out there. I was like, way more than like Fantastic Four and stuff like that. I was like, they're gonna be out there. Which I was like, and so I was like, so I gotta say, because I was like, as soon as I said that, before I get to Marvel, is I was like, seeing like I was like, it was New Rockstar or whatever they was talking about it. Eric Voss was basically talking about how Fantastic Four is going to do better abroad than Superman, because Superman is an American guy, and but Superman. I was like, yeah, but that didn't ever stop Superman from necessarily being Superman. Also, Superman, like in the movies, goes to other countries and help out those other countries. So it's not like I was like, because if that's the way, if that's the case, then I was like, Captain America should be definitely because his name is Captain America. But I was like, Superman, I was like, he goes abroad and he saves those places. I'm like, they both have been around for hell a long time. I was like 100 years, yeah, something like that. Then I'm like, okay, I don't. I was like, why? Like I'm like, I don't feel like people are really as familiar with Mr. Fantastic, Sue Storm, Johnny Storm, and the Thing like that. The thing will catch on. The thing will catch on. That's a different thing. I was like, there'll be people Halloween in the Thing outfits. No, nobody else really. I was like, yeah, you can make a family thing out of it. That's what they need to do. They need to make a family outfit out of it. That's what they need to do. But anyway, now going on to the Marvel end. Is Marvel back? Yeah, that was complicated. That was complicated. Like I said, nothing will ever restore what it felt to be Marvel in them tens. It won't be. But I do think this will help. But I don't think it. I don't think. I was like. I think they're just really just a means to an end. I think everybody knows the end of Doomsday and Secret Wars, and everybody's waiting on that. That I don't think that this movie. I like if it would have did good. I was like, I don't think that. I don't really think it would have hurt anything. I think it would have just been like, oh, well, I guess we'll just wait for Doomsday. I think that's all it is. Now but I think the way that the movie does is just builds you more to be like, oh, I can't wait till Doomsday. Because I'm like, oh, it's like, oh, this is a solid. Like I said, it was a solid movie. They didn't reveal anything that has to do with anything. Like we don't have anything really to Doom. We don't have like there were no incursions or nothing like that. So it's like it's still. So it's like it was a good movie, it's a solid movie. It did the job of Fantastic Four that we know will play a part. And then I was like, and that's it. And it sort of builds the anticipation for it. But I don't think that it's over here like it like creates any more excitement than what you really just gonna have for the two big Avengers movies. So I was like, they're in a different boat. I was like, I don't think that it. I was like, I don't. It didn't obviously didn't hurt them. I don't think it. I don't really think it helped either because I feel like now people you're really kind of pat where or like standing pat where you at. They're the people that be coming at Marvel no matter what they do. They're the people that love Marvel no matter what they do. And then I was like the middle is so spread out between who's like a casual, who can see both sides, who I was like who can see this movie, still not be excited for Doomsday, who can see this movie, be excited for Doomsday. It's too many. It's way more people in the middle than I feel on like the outskirts. That I was like, it doesn't really do anything or whatever. This is just be a movie in the catalog that you'll say, oh, it was a really good movie compared to the other movies, and you'll figure some stuff out, and that's really about it. I was like, well, so I was like, I feel like it sucks in a way where it just kind of like, it's because I think this movie is a good thing that it didn't do anything to really be like, hey, look out for that Doomsday in there. As much as like other Marvel movies that would be like a post credit scene that's like, check out this next movie. You remember that thing that we forgot about, but maybe you remember. We're gonna put in there. I think it needed to deliver on it being a solid movie than to do those kind of things. Which because I was like, to me, they were sort of in a. I'm not gonna say there was a lose-lose situation. Or it'd be damn if you do, damn if you don't. I think so. I think that's what it is. I think that's a better way of putting it than being in like a win-win, lose-lose situation or whatever. I think if you did all that stuff, would it made the movie better? Then I was like, but without it, it was still a good movie. But it doesn't. But they didn't do anything to make you like, oh man, let's start the speculation on that, on like the Doomsday and all this other stuff. And plus, we're gonna get Doomsday, Spider-Man, and stuff like that. So there's still other movies to get involved with it. And I like, to me, I think that's where it's really gonna be. I think Spider-Man's gonna come out before that. I was like, to me, that's the movie. But I was like, you can always do good with a Spider-Man movie. To me, that will lead into it. I was like, oh, that will be the hype that you need going into that movie and coming out that movie. Then Fantastic Four, I think it's just another plan to just execute in Doomsday. To be honest, um, yeah, but I was like, I think, but the both movies I think did their job. I think they hit it out of the park for what the expectations was uh, for each movie. And I think that it did help them both go in the direction that they need to. Because, like I said, you just needed to build a faith amongst that crowd, and then you'll get the other people with it. Because I was like, guess what? You have the people that's always going to watch these movies, but you want to get the other people. I think DC had did a better job at that than say Marvel. Because I was like I said, you sort of know where you feel about Marvel by now. Marvel's been around for so long, whereas DC's restarting. Now, when Marvel restarts the way they do, and we'll see how that goes. That'd be a different story, but I think it's fine. I know like they like Fantastic Four had like a way bigger drop off or whatever, and don't really know how to explain it. I don't really necessarily care because I was like, I it's one of those where I was like, I think that it's a lot better if it gets good reviews. I think the money will sort out itself. The money will be fine or whatever. These are characters that are going to come back. This wasn't like Black Widow getting movie, or if one of those like like She-Hulk or something like that had a movie, then I'd be like, ugh. I was like, look, we haven't gotten a Shang-Chi too, so but I was like, Fantastic Four, they're a big name. They'll come back. The movie is fine. Yeah, I think this is more about word of mouth, whatever. Like DC, I think they need to make the money and have good word of mouth and good reviews. I was like, Marvel, to me, I think since like I said, they're in their end game Doomsday. That is like they just needed the word of mouth to be good, to where it's like, okay, I'll either go to movies to see it. If I don't, I'll check it out on Disney Plus. But I'm game to basically when the next movie comes out, and which was going to be a long time. And to be honest, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing either. I was like, I and not even the way that we've been oversaturated with Marvel stuff for a good long while, but in the way of I think kind of like we would have had all these movies earlier, but they pushed them. But I do think that I do think it gives it needed rest off of a good movie. Cause I was like, you don't want it to be a long rest off of a bad movie. Cause then this is kind of like, oh, that's right, they was coming out with a movie. Whereas like now it's kind of like, man, yo, when that next Spider-Man gonna hit? Like, oh man, that's right, I did love that movie. That's right. Okay, man, you know what? Let me go ahead and start rewatching the movies or whatever. I don't know. I was like, I guess I'm talking more of like trying to see where the casual people more so now than the Marvel people that's like, this is my job or this is what I do or this. I've always been down with this type of thing. Totally different bag. Anyway, that's my review of the two blockbuster summer movies. I guess we call them blockbuster when they're in summers, right? Man, I miss blockbusters. Anyway, then going down the memory lane, I'm gonna just say bye.